Hey everyone, this is Jeff Reinholtz. Welcome to MSP Insights. Today, I am joined by Jeremy Cioara. Jeremy, CEO and founder of Veeya. Jeremy, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
So, Jeremy, we've got a really big episode of MSP Insights to unpack today. I think probably the best place for us to start is I'd love for you to share a little bit about how you got your start into tech and ultimately where you sit today as the leader and visionary of your MSP. Can you share a little bit of that with our audience?
Sure. And I think in sharing this, uh, uh, it'll be a little more gritty and we'll just say raw than what I've seen where most MSPs or I'll just say business in general come from. In a nutshell, I was watching one of the previous MSP Insights with another founder who in one sense created an MSP and then discovered online videos, online connection and all of that. And he's like, man, if I would have discovered this years ago, I would have just jumped into this. So in understanding where Veeya came from and where the vision for it began, it was completely the opposite of the last person that I saw on here. I was an online trainer and had been a trainer in a nutshell, I'd say for almost my entire professional life. Started in the classroom environment, teaching certification classes, actually went to a community college, taught there for a while, and then moved in around 2000, 2002-ish to full online training and doing videos that were really successful. And so by the time I had got to the point where the MSP started, I had already, I don't want to say burned out, but had done online videos for most of my career. And I was going, I'm looking for something new, something more challenging. And so I would always take little side consulting jobs from oftentimes students and things like that. So one day Boeing called, the aircraft manufacturer, and it's a long, complex web of like, why did they call you? But in a nutshell, they had a business in the Netherlands who was trying to get started here in America and needed somebody just to help. And that's where it all began. What I didn't know at the time was I had actually walked into what I didn't even know it was an MSP. I didn't even know what an MSP was back. This was 2009, 2010 timeframe. And I walked into what I would say is a failing MSP as a consultant to just try and fix some stuff. Like, let me get some network stuff remedied for you. Let me do this. Was successful at that. Ended up on the phone with the owner, who was in a gross summary saying, look, we're looking for somebody to partner with out in the United States. Would you be interested? And again, the verbiage was cryptic to me back then. Now I know much better. But would you be interested in buying the business and just making it work? And so I said yes, and stepped into what I now know is an MSP. And so I would say that's the 10,000 foot view of my stepping into a movement, a slow move from online trainer into MSP business owner, but wasn't exactly sure what that was yet.
So I love you go from your heart of hearts being extremely passionate about training, education, the direction you want to go. You get the attention of Boeing, you get the attention of someone going, yeah, I need an out plan. I think this is the visionary we need who can step in, lead this MSP into the future. But the piece, I think what was very fascinating when you and I first met is we talked a lot about your passion always bleeding through around training and education, around here has been a strategy that has worked very well for you in attracting prospects, retaining existing clients, and how that has really supported your business's growth. You know, we've also talked a lot about purpose, finding great purpose in what you do and finding your why. Can you share a little bit about your why and what you've been doing? Because I think it really has a ripple effect that you're leading into a bigger purpose than just, I don't want to understate CEO and leader of an MSP, but tell us a little bit about that why. I love the direction you're taking your business.
Sure. And I know this is going to be viewed by other MSP owners and potential owners, people that are thinking, is this something I want to do? So I'm trying to frame it in that sense. A lot of my why was a journey, discovering what. I mean, it sounds almost foolish, but 3 or 4 years into the business, having that question of like, why am I here? This is hard. This is no longer fun. What am I doing this for? And so on a global scale, a lot of what the journey has led me to is I love watching people come alive. That's my draw. That's my passion with education, as you mentioned a moment ago. You talk to a lot of teachers that just love that light bulb moment of what they call it, where they see somebody gets it and they go, now you got it. And all of a sudden it becomes like, this is cool. It goes from this very like, I don't like this to a, wow, I love this. I get it. It makes sense. So I love that light bulb moment. And what I love and the way I've brought that into the MSP world is I love helping people come alive, helping them find their own why, and what I've found over the years is I'm drawn to people that just are searching. They're searching for what they want to do. And that's a lot of the folks that we've hired at Veeya is not necessarily highly technical folks, but people that are the right people that may have a little aptitude to where it's like they're not scared of technology. And they just have that right, I'll call it mojo to where, and I can see it. It's somebody who's just like, during an interview, they'll like, I'm in a job. I'm not sure exactly what I'm there for, but I really would love to get something that could be a career or it could be and so those are the people that I'm like, oh, okay. And I interview a lot more for character and who they are. I've hired people from McDonald's. I've hired people from butchers. Seems to be a meat theme. I've hired people from dry cleaners. Just people that I recognize that I go, you are somebody who I think could do really well. Not necessarily dealing directly with technology, although that happens. But when you're talking technology, when you're talking to MSP, there's all kinds of things around the technology that if you have an aptitude and can speak, I always call it conversationally competent. You can speak it and at least understand what people are saying. From project management to marketing to creative design to all kinds of things. That's what I've found bridging my why into it has done. I now, instead of just teaching and seeing so many light bulb moments and people are like, oh, I'm so excited. It's more so let me involve myself directly with you and set you on, I'd like to say, a life journey of like, hey, let's get you in the right direction. And I feel like I can have maybe not more impact, because when I was doing online training, I would reach thousands, but more of a real impact that I can actually see and watch happen in those lives. So I love that. So long and short of it, Veeya, we often say we're the MSP that teaches, that bridges the world, not just our own internal employees, but to our customers as well. I could talk more on that, but I think that's a lot of the future of the MSP is technology it's becoming easier. It's not the propeller spinning hats anymore. Although some of that still exists. It's more so who can get the customers to adopt the technology and use the technology. And the key to that is they understand it and they really see the impact of how it can make their day more productive.
So you hit on an interesting topic around where you were, how you've really integrated this idea of I'm going to lead through training and education, and a bit of what makes your company unique, that you lead with more of the EQ versus the IQ.
Mm.
where you talk about someone, and this is fascinating for me as I probably met with at least 4 different guests for MSP Insights. And they've taken the same approach where they've said, you know what, I'd rather bring in someone that the social emotional perspective is they want to lean in. They want to let the person sitting next to them feel very comfortable that they can ask a question, that they want to simplify the processes, the terms, the concepts, make it relatable, right? Where they have these unlocking aha moments. And it's interesting when I hear your story because this is where I think you and I are very, very similar. That again, I was the mistaken tech guy that was hyper passionate about wanting to be an educator and work in school districts and unlock these codes for kids and break down these barriers. And I've just simply said, now I get to do that for adults that often have been told they're not smart enough, not good enough.
Mm.
They're obviously smart enough. They're obviously good enough. They just haven't been included in what I consider the tech club, where they just need to create some synergy, some things they understand, right? Some
Yeah.
commonalities where they have these unlocking aha moments where again, you and I think we align to this where we said there's no finer moment than creating that aha endorphin drive with somebody and seeing it occur. Now, based on where you got your start and where the company is today, it sounds like you have basically scaled yourself, where you
Mm.
have found a bunch of men and women that think the same way, that believe the same way. How have you made that become a reality?
Great question. A lot of that is uh, a lot of that is through, I would say, version after version of an organizational chart and version after version of myself. Um, Meaning, one of the things that I neglected early on was like, where are we going? Like, what's not so much the vision, because the vision is like, here's, big, broad picture, and it's great, but I mean, take it down a level. Like, okay, if that's where we're headed, what are the systems that are going to be in place to get us there, and who's going to do them? And I think version over version of myself. I mean, when I don't think I'd be recognizable when I started the company. I thought it was pretty awesome. I'd been training for, I mean, what, 10, 15 years at that point, um, doing really well in online classes, certifications. And that's where I think to this day, most of the world still knows me. But starting a company, it was almost like I am not awesome. I'm terrible. I thought I could do this really well. Like even down to the technology side, where it's like, I've taught this 1,000 times. I'm here at a customer site. This isn't working. And really understanding that there are so many people with gifts and talents so far beyond my own. I think I stepped into the business, again, coming from an education perspective, thinking I can do anything. If I need to be an accountant, I can be an accountant. If I need to, like, I can figure this out. This is it. And I think that's been a lot of the process of growth, is realizing, you know what? There's pretty much maybe one or two things that I can do really well. And there are people that are so much more gifted than me in so many other areas. And so I think that's where it has really helped to see people with their own gifts step into those roles, buy into the vision or not. I mean, I've had people that have come and done astounding things and have not been bought into my vision at all. I didn't know that at the start, but it started to become like, okay, I'm seeing a riff here. And I've seen now, I may have lost the original question somewhere in this pile, but I've seen now where there's people that come in and really drive something. And I'm like, wow, you are on this. And then I find out later on, it's like, that's just their gift. They were operating in their gift, and it served us for a time. And then it's, once it's like, that's now shored up and great, they go, oh, I'm out of here. And I go, oh, okay, great. And we find, that now whatever they did is this new level of growth that we've built. And I would have never known that. And it sounds simple, but starting off, I think I started off as if I know a lot of MSP leaders that I've spoken with have read E-Myth, which is kind of a business building book where it says, if you come in with a technician mindset, you end up dying, meaning you like, I'm good at this. And this is where I think a lot of MSPs start is, I'm good at technology. I'm going to create a company that does technology. And that's a technician mindset. Like what you do is often so far from what the business needs that it's apples and oranges. But we all, I think E-Myth calls it the entrepreneurial seizure, where it's like, I should do this for myself. And before long, you just end up underwater going, what hit me? So I think I may have lost the original question somewhere on that journey, but that's been a lot of where I've seen myself and the organization grow over the years. Is, in a nutshell, it's not about me. It's much bigger than that.
I think the nice piece too, Jeremy, though, is you and I've had some time to get to know each other, and I see how you look at the business. The piece that's always stood out to me is you've always been highly reflective. As you share your stories, you talk a lot about having these aha moments going, I don't know if I'm going the right direction. We need to rethink some things. So taking a look at that regarding where you are today, and again, this is very much like an infinite strategy on how the MSP is reinventing itself. What are we doing? If you took a look at the MSP from a decade ago, you took a look at the MSP from 5 years ago to where we sit today, it's very, very different. But from where you sit today, where do you see it in, say, 2 years? I think one of the biggest things, again, we'll continue to go back on where you're very strong, is this consultative, educational approach to the business, where you drive home these powerful aha moments for folks. And I'm not going to understate it, because I think it's very, very valuable what that does. It enables trust, right? The minute you can unlock something for a client, and more importantly, a person, and make a connection where they just said, oh my gosh, Jeremy and his team just did this for me. Now I understand how to do this. Let me go back and ask them another question. But do you see that that's truly a part of the future where the MSP goes? And, is this more of a, no, this is what makes us boutique, this is what makes us special, and this is what will drive us. But where do you see the MSP in 2 years as a whole?
Yeah. I think that where I see it in 2 years, and 2 years after that, and 2 years after that, is more so niching down into very, very specific solutions. The MSP that I started 10 years ago is nothing like it was 10 years ago in such a good way. There's so many horror stories, but the 10-year ago MSP was, we are your technology resource. Company X, whoever you're talking to, you don't need to worry about the technology anymore. We do that. What does that mean? Well, technology. Okay. Is that printers? Yeah, we do printers. Well, what about printers? Well, we make sure that people can print. Well, what if the ink runs out? Do you change it? Well, and so back then it was more so like, we're IT people. And where I see it going now in the next 2 years is really focusing in on, here's what this MSP does. And that could be in industry, like, we're the MSP for medical companies. I could see that. That could be a specific technology. We're the MSP for projectors or smart boards. That's what we do. And I think that's where I see a little bit more of what people now say, that co-managed model, where organizations will hire the IT person, but that IT person nowadays, the technology realm is so vast. It's, so figuring out that co-managed model, I think, is going to be a lot more of the next 2 years, where the IT person will feel less threatened by the MSP, because they're like, oh, you're not after my job because you're the projector MSP. You take care of smart boards, right? Okay, I don't feel threatened by that. Whereas the MSP of 10 years ago, who's like, we handle technology, and the IT person's like, well, I handle technology. What gives here? And you feel that immediate distance. So I think you'll see a lot more specializing in industries, specializing in technologies, and partnering with the on-staff IT of organizations in a non-threatening way.
I like the direction you just took that. Again, I'll dare I say it seems to be a reoccurring theme where the successful MSP has an aha moment to go, how do I go from the 10,000 foot view down to 6 inches? Where you're hyper focused and clearly identifying what you do, what you're great at, how you can work an instance of what you just hit on, a co-managed methodology, working with somebody where you don't have someone who's threatened, right? Or they see you show up going, oh, here are the guys that are here to take my job, right? Like, hand over the passwords. We're not in that business. Here's where we want to specialize. Here's where we can be successful. And oh, by the way, let's all come together and collaborate to drive better solutions for said client that you're supporting. So it's interesting to hear that seems to really be a tie that binds with all of the different leaders I've had an opportunity to meet with over the past year.
Good.
So let me ask you, so based on that point then, right, you become very specialized in what you do, how you approach your clients. I'd love to lean in and now talk a little bit about tech. And this is where, again, a lot of CEOs, and you hit on it before, you didn't specifically say it, but I think a lot of CEOs that have grown in tech, they also have their aha moment. If they want to be successful, they need to best understand that they're no longer have the opportunity to live in the day-to-days of tech, where it's the plugs, it's the wrenches, it's the configs, right? It's answering tickets. They need to have a much bigger role in driving how are all of these other ancillary items being taken care of for partners, and really being a visionary, being someone that can step in as a CEO, right? You think about if we would laugh if we saw the leader, Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk all of a sudden is working on the assembly line of Tesla. We'd never see it, right? Yet we see CEOs that decide they want to start their own MSP, and all of a sudden they're going out and answering tickets. It's not a sustainable model, right? So thinking a little bit in the world of tech, how you can grow and leverage tech. What was your aha moment where you said, I gotta lean in. It's time for me. I'm scaling, I'm growing. I need to leverage some technology. What was the moment, and what did you get out of it because you did it?
So let me say the question back to you to make sure I'm understanding it. So through the years of growing in MSP, you have many aha moments. But what I'm hearing you ask is, at which point did you have the aha moment that says, I can't do this anymore. I can't be on the assembly line. Or are you asking, I need technology to help automate and do things for me, or both? Twofold,
both ends. What was your moment where you said, I need tech to lean in for me? What was that moment for you?
Got it. So I think that's, again, we started a little unique. So I'm going to bend your question a little bit.
Yep.
But I think answer both questions at once.
Okay.
I'll call it acquired a failing MSP in the United States to try and turn it around. They already had some of the technology stack created. I mean, back then it was Citrix thin workstations. It was, this was like, this cloud thing is brand new. I mean, so if we can put our mindset back then, there was already a lot of technology in place. They were using Kaseya to manage a lot of the agents and clients and things like that. So where I think I had my aha moment of, I've got to get off the assembly line. But a lot of the mistake I made was assuming that people that I would bring into the organization would just do that. Like you just take care of it. What? The technology stuff. So when something goes down, like, I'm not getting called. And so it was years and years and years of pain and sorrow, because in one sense, I was bringing in people to support the technology, but I, as a leader, never really defined what that was. So in one sense, it started as me. I was the one guy. And I'm trying to do everything. My wife is, handling QuickBooks, and that's about it. And so I'm trying to spin all of the plates. And I thought, okay, when I hire somebody, they'll just do that. They'll take these plates and just spin them. And I don't even know, like back then in that mindset, I don't even know if I had it was just like, okay, you do stuff, just go do stuff. And so I think what I learned was the technical systems, every single one of them are not a silver bullet, whether it be Kaseya or Datto or ConnectWise or, all of these different flavors. We've tried them all and we've migrated to them all, because I think in our minds it was like, oh, okay, well, this doesn't do that. That one does. So if we move to that, all of these problems go away. And that's not true at all. Every single system that we would put in place needs a maintenance plan. It needs an owner. So nowadays, for instance, when somebody says, hey, let's roll out this new module in Datto, I go, okay, what does it do? Why are we doing that? And who owns that? That's one of our core values, is ownership mindset. Who owns that? Like when that breaks and no longer works, who's the one that's like, that one's yours. You've got that. What? And eventually it evolved into, what position owns that? It's no longer Mike's job. It's we'll just call it the Datto architect. It's their position, or that, it's so that has been a lot of the helping me get off the assembly line. And a lot of leadership in itself is, when you start the company, when you start the MSP, you are the Swiss Army knife and you do a whole bunch of things mediocre. And so the growth plan is really identifying what are those boxes, what does that include, and who owns it. So when you bring somebody in, I mean, obviously, if you were trying to bring in another Swiss Army knife, why wouldn't they go create a Swiss Army knife of themselves? Like why wouldn't they build their own MSP? Like when you bring somebody in, just saying, hey, these 5 things, that's yours. And that is freaking hard. And what I mean by that is I look and I go, I don't know how people do it. Like when I started the MSP, I was doing a lot of online training and kept doing a lot of that to keep my income going. I didn't take a salary for, I bite my lip because I'm like, 4 years, 5 years, it was all money that would just go back to the people and the people of the MSP. And I'm going, I don't know how somebody does this. If they are like, living on ramen noodles, trying to, or they go out for funding and now they've got, another agency that's like, no, do it this way. I'm going, oh my gosh. So in one sense I look and I'm amazed at other MSP owners that put all the puzzle pieces together, because it's hard. It's hard to do that and learn as you go.
Well, and to your point, where again, this is going to go back on some previous conversations, that a lot of CEOs have come out and told me after the fact, again, the first 4 years, 3 or 4 years, you're sitting there going, gosh, everybody thinks we're doing so well, but I'm not taking a paycheck. Or, oh my gosh, I'm asked to do A, B, C, and D, and I'm working 60, 70 hours a week to just maintain the business, right? And balance the role of being the CEO and being the leader and being the face that everyone has become so accustomed to being able to go to and ask questions. And then next thing you know, you're looking around going, what about my family? What about all those other people that are around me that need my time, that I want to invest my time, that I've probably made these decisions to go, this is what I'm doing them for, yet this other thing is taking all of my energy, so I don't get to spend time with what I find to be most important. So I've got to ask you then, based off of what you've learned, what's 1 or 2 bits of advice you'd share to somebody that's listening to this episode and either A, they're about to start their MSP, or they are in month 8 of not taking that salary and still looking at the P&Ls every single month going, man, I can't take a salary again, right? What do I do? What advice are you giving to that viewer right now?
Oh, that's so the advice I would give, so and this it's difficult because everybody's got their own reason, everybody's got their own why.
Yep.
The place I finally came to, because I, 4 or 5 years into it, after taking no salary, you kind of start going, why am I doing this? This is painful. This is not as fun as I thought it would be. It's like, why am I doing this? And I think if I were to bullet point it, one, I would say, figure that out, like figure out the why am I doing this? And what I mean by that is the journey it took me on is I had to find out that this can't be a work-life balance thing, which I hear all the time, especially in the post-COVID world. It's like, well, I work from home. There's no work-life balance. I'm like, wow, what does that even mean? Yeah. In one sense, a lot of people build MSPs to sell it. And that's where I looked and I thought to myself, is that what I'm after? I had to ask myself that question. And I came to the conclusion, I'm like, there's a lot easier ways to make money than building an MSP. like be a specialist in something, work for somebody else. Yeah. For me, I reached a point where I'm going, is that my goal? Because if it is, forget that. Like I'm looking going, so what? I walk away with 5, 10, 1, $90 million. Then what? And I've talked to so many other business owners. I love conversations with business owners. I created a business owner group at my church. The guy I bought my house from was a business owner, and I wrote into the contract, you will meet with me for 1 year as part of the home buying deal. And he's like, I would love it. And so we still go out to Denny's every month and just talk business. I love hearing it. And a lot of, and one of the things I find as I talk to a lot of business owners, a lot of them are on the journey to sell the company. Like they want to reach to X millions of dollars and sell it. And then I ask the question, then what? And I do it with eyes wide open because, and I now know the answer, because a lot of them go and they just stop there because they're like, well, that's the point, right? That's the point. Then you have millions of dollars. And I go, really? Is that it? Where I had to go was I had to look at Veeya as a vehicle for life. Like I'm looking and going, I'm not in this for a ton of money, although, hey, that'd be great. Like I look at the money as like, it's just fuel. Ironic in today's age, that money and fuel are so, but it's just fuel. Like the car doesn't move. But where's the car going? I mean, am I just in it to drive it so far and then sell it and have a whole bunch of gas that I'm just looking at going, well, now what? I go take vacations and all of that. Could have done that before I started a company. So it's determining, how does this business act as a vehicle for your life? Like what are you in this for? And I don't mean to get so philosophy, like turn into a philosophy. I can't even say the word, so much philosophy around it, but I feel like there's a lot of people that build MSPs and businesses in general. They reach a point where they sell it and they go, well, I guess I do it all over again. Right. And then that's really been a journey that I've been on. And the advice that I would give any owner is, if you're just in this for money, there's a lot easier ways to make money. I could give you a bunch, but there's a lot easier ways to make money than building an MSP, or building a business. I'll generify it. What's that business there for? Like what? And you'll find once you define that for your culture, for your people, for your everything, like it becomes like this like, there's such life in it. I mean, if you go back to who is that guy, Simon Sinek, know your why, the famous video on that. There's a lot there, but what I found is if you're like, if it's just about the money, then your why is kind of like it's like, it's fake. You know what I mean? You're like, actually, I'm in this for cash, but let's figure out something that makes it otherwise. And I think that it has to be real, like, and it has to be really narrow and maybe even change. Like, for instance, our why at Veeya is helping life changers change more lives. Our vertical is we go after schools, education, people that are changing lives, and nonprofits, and very specific schools and nonprofits, to the point where, and it helped focus us. One weird story is, like, back in the early days when we were just starving for cash, we would take anybody. But then we had this why that didn't quite line up. So we even took on a bar at one point, and we're like, yeah, well, it kind of changes lives. We're kind of helping them. It's like a life change. Like, going to a bar, and we just started doing dumb stuff, like, and trying to bend it, because in the end, we're like, we just need cash. Okay. And so we reached a point where we're like, okay, if we're doing it, we just need to say that to ourselves and say that to our people. If we're going to support this bar technically, then we just need to tell everybody, hey, this isn't what we're here for, but man, we just need some cash right now. And they're part of that engine to help us get to where we're going. That's not our long-term. So anyhow, obviously I'm on a soapbox, but I think that would be the number one thing I would advise.
And I think the nice piece, again, taking a look at everything that you just hit on and really unpacking the past 30 minutes of MSP Insights, is it's the hyper focus and finding the why. Becoming focused on something bigger than a dollar, bigger than a number, bigger than, oh, we're being built to be acquired. It's more of, let's focus on the people. Let's focus on the people in the company. Let's focus on the people that we're trying to help and assist as they're trying to help others. You keep that people-centric methodology that I think ultimately comes through as becoming very authentic. I think it also becomes very refreshing for a lot of men and women that are in businesses, because you have made it about the people versus the tech. And when I say people versus the tech, it's that cognitive aha moment where I don't want to lead with something you don't truly understand. Let's make a connection on the human element. And from there, we'll roll in and educate and teach and take you on a journey. And hopefully we can unlock some aha moments for you. But Jeremy Cioara, I want to thank you so much for joining us in this episode of MSP Insights. Jeremy, any last bit of advice you'd like to give to our viewers today before we call it an episode?
Only thing I would add, if it was a global statement, is if you're just getting started in an MSP, find a friend, find a mentor, find a group, find a thing that you can connect with others. That has been life-giving to me, is having somebody that I can go, okay, this just happened. What do I do with that? Like, what would you do? And somebody who's been on that journey before. And I think there's, I reached the point where I got past the awkwardness, obviously when buying my house, I'm like, you will be part of this house. So you can't do it alone. I shouldn't say that. Normal people don't do it alone. You need others to surround you. That's the only general advice I'd give.
Love it. It's great advice. You heard it. Do it. Find a mentor, find someone you can trust, get the advice from someone that has lived it and experienced it. Jeremy Cioara, thanks so much for joining us on this episode of MSP Insights.
Yeah, thanks.